Greetings, family, and welcome back to Raising the Vibe. Today we're going to talk about the new fresh start on the horizon for Zambia. Now, as many of you know, if you've seen the video, I previously did a video on Zambia and how the Chinese were essentially taking over the country. Well, a Zambian brother came into the comments and said, he thanked me for my concern about their country, but he advised me that they had a new government and everything was going to take a turn for the better. So after reading that comment, I was inspired to just do a little research to find out what's going on in Zambia now. And what the research revealed is that Zambia a few weeks ago elected a new president, Hakainde Hichilema. So Hichilema is a millionaire, a businessman, and he's made it clear that there will be zero tolerance for corruption. Okay, family, so I taped this video about a week or so ago, and now that I finally have time to post it, I realize that some of the portions of the video are damaged. But the history of Zambia's presidential politics is just too fascinating for me not to post. So I'm just going to try to share a little bit of what's missing at this section so that you can follow along with the rest of the video. So back in 2012, when I visited Zambia, Michael Sata, who they called King Cobra, was the president of the country. He had been elected the year before in 2011. But then Michael Sata died in a hospital in London. And this is where it really gets interesting, because the Zambian cabinet appointed Guy Scott, a white man who was VP under Michael Sata, to serve as acting president. According to the Zambian constitution, a new election had to be held 90 days after Sata's death. Okay? Now, Guy Scott was white. He was born in Zambia, but both of his parents were Scottish. So, according to the Zambian constitution, he wasn't eligible to serve as president. There was some talk by him of trying to change the constitution, and as far as Zambians were concerned, some of them were okay with him serving as president, and others were like, absolutely not. We cannot have a white man serve as president in this country so soon after independence. So in the meantime, Edgar Lungu was Secretary General of the Patriotic Front political party, which is called PF. And he was also the Minister of Justice and Defense. And he was a known front runner for Michael Sata's position. At some point, Guy Scott actually suspended Edgar Lungu, but there was such an outcry on the grassroots level in the PF party that he had to reverse that suspension. So after Guy Scott's decision to dismiss Edgar Lungu was reversed, there was an election held and Edgar Lungu won. So Lungu won the election 90 days after Michael Sata's death, and he was elected to serve out the rest of Michael Sata's term. And then there were elections in 2016 for the new presidential term. Now, prior to all of this, Zambia was known as a very peaceful country. It had political stability, represented a great country for investment because of that political stability. But everything changed around this time. There were elections for the next full-term presidency. Hichilema ran again. Apparently, this time when he won was like his sixth time running for president. So he's tried and tried and tried. And so in this new election, this time, Edgar Lungu won again, but it was only by 100,000 votes. Some sources say he had 50.35% of the election. And of course, Hichilema challenged it. maintained that he had not fairly won, and that set off a whole series of events. It is unbelievable how much drama ensued, most of it between Lungu and Hichilema, but also Lungu started doing things that we know African dictators to do, such as curbing the freedom of Zambians. The media essentially self-censored, providing primarily pro-government stories because any media outlets that were seen to be aligned with the opposition or that produced any stories that were critical of the government could find themselves subject to arbitrary closures by government officials, and journalists that issued critical reports of the government will find their equipment damaged. They were subject to defamation suits, other frivolous lawsuits, harassed and arrested. The corruption was just off the chain from all reports. It was said that the government would monitor live radio call-in shows as well as social media. And the Zambian citizens would sometimes find themselves fined as a result of things they posted on social media or said on those radio shows. And of course, all the while, the everyday Zambian citizens were living in poverty. Even as the country was receiving investments and doing well, it never trickled down to the everyday citizens. And then at that point, they now have a government that's restricting their freedoms, that is misusing public funds, that is just being a tyrant. And in 2017, Lungu had Hichilema arrested for treason, saying that he attempted to overthrow Lungu's government by blocking the progress of Lungu's motorcade. And Hichilema actually served 4 months in jail on those charges. In fact, the corruption under Lungu got so bad that in 2018, the UK, Ireland, Finland, and Sweden withdrew aid from Zambia amid allegations that $4.7 million had been embezzled by government ministries. And under Lungu, the country just began to be divided. Some of the opposition parties formed militias because, again, the government security forces were operating with impunity and committing all kinds of human rights abuses. And people started talking about regionalism and identifying based on the region in which they live. So in Zambia, there is a 2-term limit for presidents, but the Constitutional Court, which was primarily appointed by who? Lungu, determined that he was eligible to run this year because they said his first election win and partial term was really only serving out the end of Michael Sata's term and could not count as part of his 2 terms. So he was able to run again. And there were like about 9 parties running for president, but the 2 forerunners were UPND, Hakainde Hichilema, and PF, Edgar Lungu. Their supporters got into fights in the street. Again, media outlets sympathetic to the opposition were shut down. Hichilema was prevented from coming into and out of Lusaka in order to hold rallies or do whatever it is he wished to do. I saw an ad that was running connection with the current presidential election run by Hichilema, where he showed how he took his money and used his investments and grew his wealth to be a successful businessman. And he countered that by showing Edgar Lungu, saying that he took his money, who was actually a lawyer, that he took his money and spent it in bars. He showed a picture of the man dancing, said he frittered away his money in bars, and that he swindled some money from a woman. I believe she was a widow, but I'm not sure. But in any event, his license to practice law was taken. Then they said also that they said that he couldn't manage his own money and that he mismanaged the country's money as well. And then there was a picture of each of them side by side saying, who would you rather have for president? I mean, it reads like a soap opera. It was off the chain. At the end of the day, however, recently Hichilema was elected president. And here are some of the kinds of things that he has said. His position is that the people of Zambia have suffered enough. He also told the head of police and the head of prisons, this is not an opportunity to do what you want. It is an opportunity to serve the people. He said power has not changed hands. The power is in the people. Leadership has changed hands, and it is our job as leaders to serve the people. Hichilema has said that corruption was at, quote, horrifying, end quote, levels in the government. There were issues with the movement of cash. He said that even after he was elected, there were still people trying to make unauthorized last-minute movements of cash, which is not allowed. It turns out that Zambia has a really young population. So one of his priorities is school. And he has said that he is committed to free education through the primary and secondary levels, where the citizens will also be taught skills, because not only are they uneducated, but they are unskilled, and they will be taught skills that will be helpful in the economy. And he said, of course, once you get to college, university level, then we're going on talent. It's not free, it's a different situation. But he wants to give that basic education with skills that make one employable for free. Hichilema has also said that one of his top priorities is to reunite the country and to focus on the economy and jobs and crime. And he also made restoring order a priority, saying that no one's going to tell you that you can't be somewhere, basically referring to the abuses under the police. And he also said that he heard a lot of the Zambians saying, we're free now, we're free. And that to hear that is clearly an indication that prior to his election, they certainly didn't feel free. He has also said he wants to purge the police and the defense forces to promote peace and stability. And he has said that his first appointment is going to be the Minister of Finance, to send a clear signal to all, and I imagine Chinese included, that, you know, this is a new day and Zambia is serious about its economy. And then when asked, is he going to exact revenge against Lungu for having him arrested and in and out of police custody and barred from entering Lusaka and so on and so forth, his answer is no. It stops here. Let's move forward in a new direction. And it is my sincere hope that Zambia does indeed get a new start under their new president, Hakainde Hichilema. Until next time, family, peace and love and light.